just about launching on October 1st. And let me move this back here. Sorry about that. Okay, on campus, October 12th, rather, sorry. And this was really the critical design constraint, is that we want to ensure that it's one school. You just have two ways to access that. So that means you're either accessing it virtually or you're accessing it through the on-campus experience. We don't want you to have two different experiences. And this was really from our early design experience. And I'm gonna stop sharing so you can see my face. And I think the real critical component of this is about, we built them on relationships, and it connects directly to the work of Thrively. By having those deep relationships, where we want families to have the opportunity to reflect and redo their commitment that they made back in July. Because we didn't want you to commit and build our classrooms based off of your virtual classroom, and this is the on-campus classroom, and those two never should meet, and you never should have that opportunity to change your mind. Well, the data has been changing daily, weekly. When you made that commitment back in July, we thought we were coming back maybe in January. That has changed, right, multiple times. So now it's looking at October 12th. Because of our design philosophy and our design presence with you, is we're going to have our LEDs ensure that they reach out to you, or having a team meeting tomorrow within the next week. You'll be able to either confirm your commitment that you had in July, or you can change it. The big piece for us, though, is we want to maintain those relationships. So the way the teachers are doing it is they're working in partnerships or in triads to ensure that those collective teachers can have all the same kids. So you're not moving to another kid or to another classroom. So that's our really big commitment for us. So I just wanted you to kind of see me in the eyes there, that I know that's a big deal for our families as our kids are having those relationships. And then now we're going to be a month into school, and then to think that my kid might have a brand new teacher. What would happen is over the next 4 weeks, as we develop those partnerships, your student will be introduced to another teacher that's part of that triad or dyad. And then that way we can continue to maintain that relationship. And that on-campus or off-campus experience is going to be the same for the most part. Okay, so that's really critical. So I'm going to push this back up again. I think that was important for our families to hear, because this is the critical component. We want to ensure that those kids have that relationship with their teacher. They're feeling good about that. And ultimately, we want to make sure that our students are ready to go, because it's just not missing a beat. We also think it's critical if a kid gets sick, even if it's the flu or the sniffles or whatever, and they have to stay home, they're right there with their kids. They just pop right into their partner's virtual classroom. And then when they're ready to come back into the other classroom. Here's another cool component, and I'm going to stop sharing again. We didn't want to just create you're the virtual teacher forever and you should never change, and you're the virtual student and you should never change, and you're the on campus and you should never change. We think that, what if maybe you need to teach on campus twice a week, and you teach on campus 3 times a week, and you're partnering together. Maybe a kid needs to come on campus 1 day a week to do assessments, because that makes a lot of sense to do it in person. That's the flexibility we're building in. So it's not just one myopic pathway that you're picking. Ultimately, you're kind of saying, this is where I would like to be. I feel most comfortable being mostly virtual. There might be an opportunity for me to come on campus, but we're not gonna, you get my sense? We're not just sticking you in to one box. And I think that's really critical and dynamic of our design philosophy. So super appreciative of our teachers thinking these things through. Next one is about on-campus smart start. Really kind of a leader again in this space about thinking about rolling this in a way that's really thoughtful and dynamic and purposeful for our youngest learners. So October 12th, 13th, and 14th, that's going to be our youngest learners. That gives us all of our resources to be wrapped around our teachers. They're already planning. I think our TKK is actually having some information meeting coming up soon, if not tomorrow. Then we have TK2. All of them will be coming on the 15th, 16th, and then TK5 October 19th. Most likely our 6-8 will be coming on in November. We'll be having a more design time, obviously. So every Thursday coming up, we'll be releasing more information as it comes, and your LEDs will be sharing with you more information as we design it as well. This is what it's looking like. This is probably going to be the times it was, 5 minutes plus or minus. So this is most likely going to be the AM, PM sessions. And we'll talk more about that as we roll through. This is also critical because, as you know, 70% of you are really interested in the morning session. What we'll probably do, we have the preference for Bridge because Bridge is only starting at 11 o'clock. So we have to get them into the morning sessions so then they can have that afternoon the morning session and afternoon bridge, because it starts at 11:30 actually. Lottery based, what I mean by that is we're gonna first poll you, what's your preference, virtual, on campus, poll you, what's your preference, AM, PM. We'll probably take all those PM friends and automatically plop them into the PM session, so they'll fill up the PM spaces, and then we'll backfill with probably a lottery between the AM session so that we can get that. That's about the best equity at this time design that we're thinking of. Designing for safety, you heard Casey talking about temp checks and masks for all. We were a leader in that space. Now the district is come along with us and seeing that as a purposeful space to be. So district-wide, PUSD, TK12, everybody's wearing masks, all kids. So pretty cool. You all were a leader in that space. We're looking at class sizes. So this is a really critical piece. So I want to kind of stop and share. We're really thinking about class size reduction. So if you actually look at the research about class size reduction, it's about 16 and under. Class size of 20 was never class size reduction in the research. It just is a number that California landed on originally way back in whatever it is, 2000 or 97, 98. Class size reduction of 15 is like that seminar type space. So we're gonna really leverage small class size. Not just because we have to because of physical distance, because of imagine I have 15 kids, and now what can we do in terms of deep interactive learning because of these small seminar style classes, right? So leveraging the class size reduction, we feel that we can actually, no matter, even though it might look like a half day, but it's a half day with half a class and really purposeful, and you can see all the kids in front of you. Similarly, for virtual learning, looking at that, maybe even pivoting that and seeing some opportunities there with half class sizes. So more to come in that space. Super excited about that, as you can see. Next is about designing for instruction. This is a little bit of a pivot from the last message I sent out to you. We are going to make September 25th. We polled the teachers, where do you want to have? We have a floating professional growth day. We can put it anywhere in the year. It's part of our 181 days. We take one of those. You guys have 180 days of instruction. This is still a work day for teachers. So September 25th for transitional kindergarten through 5th grade will be a non-student day. There won't be any virtual learning going on. So we won't have any teachers planning for that. This is going to be our professional growth day. It's a floating day that we're going to be putting on for September 25th. Then October 2nd, that's another Friday, and October 9th will be minimum days. So all the virtual learning and experiences will be in the morning, and then afternoon, there won't be any kind of like really designated classes, similar to our typical minimum days when we were on campus. That afternoon of those 2 days will be specifically targeting just wrapping in the last little bits up to ensure we're ready to go for on-campus learning. So that September 25th, our teacher's gonna be using that whole day just to kind of really design and be thoughtful around their partnerships, taking the data, your input based off of what you need, because we're opening ourselves up, and you need to know that. We're probably the only school that's repolling the kids. Out of all 39 campuses, we're probably the only school that's polling and saying, what is it that you not, is this still accurate? Do we have the data right? So you probably saw in the board meeting, it was asked by TJ Jane, board member Zane, and it was kind of pulled back that we don't want to do that. The reason being is because they're all set up for virtual and on campus. We set it up in a different methodology where it allows us to have that flexibility to really pivot and find that right tune for our parents. We're proud about that, as you can see. Lastly, I think we have a last few slides is next step. We're gonna be polling the parents by your homeroom. We felt it was really critical. We didn't want you to have one more email in a sense. There's probably gonna be a video, there'll be some homeroom experience, there'll be something that maybe the team is gonna share with you to give you more information around what you can expect for our best version yet as we roll into the designing of this, so that you can make that really informed decision. Maybe you stay with what you said in July, or you change your mind, and that's okay. And having that space and knowing that, man, this thing has changed multiple times in our ecosystems across districts, across the nation, and to feel like you were stuck in that spot based off of some data in July seems unempathetic. So we are believing that you have the right and the opportunity to change your mind. How does that sound? Great. I believe that is a good thing. Now, that's our work. Every other school is doing their own work, and we believe everyone should have that right to do the work that they feel empowered to do. And so not putting anybody under the bus is never about blame or shame. It's about, this is the work we as a community at Design 39 believe in, right? Lastly, so just lastly is, this is it. I don't know why I keep going back to that slide. I just get excited to go back and forth. All right, there you have it. Whew, that was 12 minutes. We did it. All right, I see you laughing over there at me, Bob. I'm going to talk to you later. I'm calling you on my cell phone, Bob. I just got to call you up. What are you talking about? Hey, Bob, what are you thinking about there as I'm pitching this thing out, and we'll get some conversations going inside of the chat box. Casey, maybe you see some themes there as we're going. Bob, what came to mind?
Yes, nothing. You know what? I was taken by surprise that the kiddos are coming back on the 15th, I think, instead of or was it the 19th instead of the 12th? So that was the only surprise for me. But it looks great, Joe. I think everybody's excited to get some level of normalization, whatever the heck that means these days. So I think everybody's excited and doing the best they can with the situation we have.
Cool. Hey, Casey, do you see anything in the chat box that we should get to?
Yeah, we have some themes. People want to know how long this next commitment is for, whether they'll be able to reevaluate at the end of the year or the calendar year again.
Yeah, it's until 2025. No. Sorry, you guys know my humor by now, right? It's going to be, here's the trick. We're okay with change. We are willing to pivot, and we are willing to kind of find and hack at status quo. We also want to have some kind of commitment that we can count on for a period of time. It's really, really tricky and tiring on the staff, because every time there's a pivot, guess what we're doing? We're not thinking about learning. We're thinking about structures, and we're thinking about processes, and we're not actually thinking about learning. So my pitch, it doesn't make it right. My pitch is that when you make this commitment, you're making it for the year. Because though the way we're designing and we're able to be flexible and nimble within that space, I believe we can be adaptable. With every case, with every situation, we always have that opportunity to connect one-on-one. My hope is though that we can make this commitment now, kind of knowing what we know and doing our best version of that we can make that commitment for the year.
How long will the AM/PM last?
Great question. I think everybody wants that crystal ball. It's gonna last, I don't know. I'm just gonna say that. I authentically do not know. Yeah.
And then there's a question from a TK parent. What about TK, and will they be combined with kindergarten if their LED is doing virtual?
Yeah, originally, a lot of our teachers weren't feeling comfortable with coming on campus. We were like, when we originally did that data, we were opposite of what the parents were because of safety. Remember, we weren't having masks for all kids. We didn't understand all the complexities of it. Right now, so Michelle, TK, was originally thinking of not coming on campus. She now, I think, has 95% of her kids wanting to be on campus. So most likely TK will be on campus for everybody.
And then here's another question about flexibility for kids whose siblings are on campus during kind of that transition period, to allow for parent drop off pickup while they wait for their turn to go back on campus. I think they, like, for example, my 4th grader would be okay to stay on Zoom at home while I drop off my TKR, but my 2nd grader will have to come with me.
Yeah, and I know that's one of the design constraints that superintendent was really trying to be thoughtful about and empathetic towards our families in saying that everybody starts at the same time. I get it. We feel that for that, 3 days and then potentially 5 days, that working through those 5 days of maybe having to have your kid in the car or whatnot is more important to us so that we can get it right with our youngest learners. So if you need to bring your kid into the car, or they have to be with you as you drop off, we're just going to work that through, because we really feel, because every decision has an unintended consequence, and we get that. And so we appreciate our parents for navigating this with us, knowing that it's going to have some stressors because your kid's supposed to maybe be in a Zoom call, but we know that. And so how do we adapt the learning of the folks in the 1, 2s or the 3s that are still virtual, but you're bringing your kid on campus? We get that. We feel that it's more important to do it in a really thoughtful, methodical way. So with that being said, a big challenge for us is just to make sure we can get all the kids in safely and then transition them. So we have that about an hour window between time. Lunch pickup for kids who need that will mostly be a grab and go. So we're still navigating that. We have a meeting tomorrow with our food and nutrition. Our whole safety team will be getting together. You'll be seeing videos. You also notice that we're having picture day happen before all this goes. We're also, Mary did a fantastic job. Most companies did not want to change because they're so used to doing it. Typically, we come from 9 to 2. We said, no, we're not going to impact more learning. So we're going to make sure that picture day. So she had to basically say, we're going to go with somebody else. And then we said bye. And then they came back like, actually, no, we can pivot. We're going to come from 2 to 6. Perfect. So picture days after the instructional setting. And so we'll be sending out some videos about that. You'll be seeing something similar, a lot of little videos about how to kind of navigate things similar to what we did on the first day pickup. That was a long answer.
Perfect. So what happens if situations change at home and you need to change your choice? I think they're talking about virtual versus in-person and committing.
Yeah, right now, perfect, go for it. If it happens in the moment and job changes and all that, those are those kind of individual, let's connect with Joe and LEDs. And I see Harmina there. Hey, Harmina. She's actually the boss, so we'll ask her.
Here's a message from Vanessa Park, Dr. Vanessa Park, to everyone.
One of our safety team members.
Yeah. Plea to all. Let's all do our part to keep all families healthy and keep our schools safe. This is not the time to travel, mix indoors without masks. Our community safety is paramount for our school safety.
Yeah, there's a big deal, right, about our community work is going to be just as important as our in-campus work. So if we want to keep our schools open and our kids safe and our teachers safe, we really have to do our part. And I think we really have. If you look at our local numbers, 92127, Casey was mentioning to me. Casey, what was the case rate in 92127?
We have, I think, around 225 cases from the start of COVID, and it's like 400 and some odd per 100,000, which is one of the lowest in the counties.
Okay, so you all have been doing a fantastic job. We don't want anybody getting sick. And here's what I told the teachers the other day at our all-team meeting. It was kind of really almost sad in a way, because you talk about like failure. We talk about failure all the time. Like when we're doing a design session and it fails and we pick ourselves up and we pivot and we make a direction. Failure in COVID is like similar to me, like failure with designing a plane that's going to crash. I don't want anybody getting sick, and I don't want anyone to die, right? Because that's how important it is to me, your principal. We're designing in that kind of way. Failure cannot happen. So because that's why we have to be so methodical. And that's what we're treating it as. We don't want failure in this space.
Yeah. There are a lot of questions about LEDs. So here's another one. Maybe you could just clarify, will the virtual stay with the same LED they have now? Yeah,
either most likely, as best as we can, or there'll be a partnership that will be built over the next 3 weeks as well, with a teacher that they're going to connect with anyways over the remainder of the year. So yes, and depending on how you all answer, if all of a sudden it pivots to far away from the current data, there's going to be some changes, but it's going to be changes within that dynamic that they already exist. Like TK3 has the B floor and the C floor. Those families will stay connected, right? So that's a big deal, right? Just like AM PM, we're trying to keep the families together AM PM, so you're not bringing your kids twice, unless that's an interest for you. And then, so yes, our LEDs will get a lot more information specifically. I don't want to give you a false promise, but the promise we're giving you is that the design constraint is around one campus, right? 2 different ways to get access and relationships. That means maintaining opportunities with your homeroom teacher.
Great. And then another clarification, if you pick virtual for the end of 2020 with this new survey, will we get to evaluate for next year, or is this through the end of the school year?
Yeah, as I was mentioning, we're really trying to get some consistency and stability in our plans. It's when they're designing, it impacts learning, right? And when we're changing, it impacts learning. It's like a kid that goes from one school to the next school to the next school. They're constantly having to adapt. They can, but what impact is it having every time we have a change? So my hunch and my pitch to you all is really be thoughtful about that choice. We're probably the only school that is doing this. Everybody else is stuck based off of their July decision. So make your best thoughtful decision. If you have to pivot and there's something that happens in January or March or whatever, based off of, we don't know what's happening then, but we're gonna stay the course and try to get something under our belt for a period of time that's longer than a couple weeks.
That'll be so nice. How soon will we know when we are AM or PM? And will we get a class list of those who are in school at the same time?
Great. That's a good one to put down just because you want to know who's in your roster, if there was any pivots within that cluster, because it's probably going to be between two classes most of the time. You'll have two teachers essentially. The way we're doing it is synergy, so they'll have co-teachers. They'll have the roster of all the kids in their team, and they'll have the roster of all the kids. Half of them will be AM, half of them will be PM, some of them will be virtual, but they'll have all of those kids together. So my hope is that they're meeting tomorrow, TK5. And they all did this on their own. They said, we're going to make a meeting on their own. So they're all designing that tomorrow, which is just awesome. And this is all TK5 getting together on their own. And then from there, they're going to be pitching out kind of basically the sense of what's going to come along for the virtual and on campus. So you get a better sense of what that looks like. And then in that time, they'll send out that reconfirmation. You picked virtual in July. Is that still the thing you want? And are you interested in AM and PM? You'll be saying AM and PM for both virtual, just because we want all of the data. Even in the virtual setting, we want to know that, what's your preference. And then probably by the end of next week, because we have to start populating our Synergy student information system. So probably my hope, it would be a press, but probably a good week before we actually launch, you would have a roster and know your AM or PM. You just need time to be able to pivot. So so push back on me in the chat box if you need more time than that to make that decision with your families. Or send a message to Casey. She's really good about giving me themes. I try to stay out of the energy of Facebook and just kind of really try to be intentional around what is the theme and try to solve that theme.
Yeah, I think people want to form pods and carpools and et cetera. I mean, carpools are not ideal, but we've got some essential workers that have no other option.
Yeah, we understand this is not ideal for we're doing the best with the decisions that are being made in the best way that they can district-wide. So.
Okay, Rose wants to know, now that our district has announced opening, is there any reason why, if San Diego gets back on a higher tier, that our school opening date would be compromised?
Potentially, I was listening to the board meeting. They said they're meeting on the 24th. I think that is the next Thursday. They're going to be looking at that data one more time to see if this does have a significant impact. I think there's interest around looking at local data. So we'll need to watch, Rose, the board meeting and see what their guidance is. And if you have an interest in that, listen in and post your questions to the board. They always give opportunities for you guys to participate.
Okay. Will there be on-campus testing of some kind available for quickly determining a kid with COVID?
Hey, Vanessa, I don't know if you're on the call, you can see, we've talked about as a safety team, there's probably spaces that I heard that CVS, you can get it for free, not on campus. No testing on campus. But Vanessa, I don't know if you want to talk briefly about that.
Hi, I'm here. So
Yeah.
for testing, we're not gonna, we don't have the capacity nor any resource to be able to get testing on campus. And there are a lot of regulations around that. Our recommendation is going to be, if you need to get tested, to go through your healthcare provider first. Testing should be free by law. There are also cash pay tests, like places through CVS. The county also tests for free. You can call 211 and get testing site information. But we don't recommend any home tests at this point either. So I would get tested through a licensed provider. If you go to a cash pay place, if it's a licensed provider, your healthcare plan or insurance should reimburse you. You may not be able to get it covered on site, but you should be able to get it reimbursed.
Thank you. Vanessa, just real quick, I know we're going to be doing a lot of little mini vignettes and videos about just community outreach when it comes to safety. Just again, about masking, anything that you would want to put out there. I love your example about blowing out candles. I don't know if you're muted, Vanessa.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm muted. What was the question?
Just about masking, anything you want to say about that? Just as community outreach.
Yeah, so at this point, and I think we'll still make this official, but at this point now, our recommendation is going to be full face mask for everybody. Sorry, full face, include nose to chin, covering the entire face. It should be 2 to 3 layers of a tight weave fabric that does not. So gaiters, we are going to say no. Even bandanas are questionable. Face shield only is not going to be an option either. In terms of if you're not sure if a mask is an adequate mask or not, our little rough rule right now is if you're able to blow out a candle or at least see the candle flame flicker. So if you blow out a candle and the candle flame flickers, it's not an adequate mask.
Thank you, Vanessa. A lot more to come on that and around specific safety. It's about our community. If we want to keep our campus open, we want to keep our kids safe, and we don't want them getting sick. I would imagine all of that too around, we'll be probably making recommendations around flu shots and things like that as well, because it's really tricky to distinguish between flu and COVID. And I'm not an expert, but we'll be hearing more from our safety team on that. All right, Casey, what else?
What happens if a few students get infected after school starts? What's the criteria for closure?
Yeah, we'll be putting that out. There's a decision tree that's getting finalized by the district. So stay tuned, that's coming out. What I do know is my son's sister's school, they spent $500,000, $500,000 on safety equipment. They closed after 9 days. So that's not what we want. We want to make sure that kids can stay on campus. So stay tuned about the decision tree and how many kids and what happens if there is a test positive. What happens if adults or your principal test positive, right? We'll be sharing that out.
Liz wants to know, or have you clarify whether 9/25 is a non-student day for the whole school or just TK through 5th?
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Liz. I can always count on you. Hold me accountable. Just a side note, fun fact, Liz was the very first selfie I did on D39 campus. So you can go fact check that. Liz might actually post that up tonight. I know it. Yes, when it's time to bring back our middle school, we'll be having our K-5 students will be on campus learning, and our middle school will have a professional day for planning. So on the 9/25, it is a school day for middle school. So 9/25 is only for elementary. So I know that might make a little bit of a funny thing for your kids. We are a TK8, yet we're trying to navigate those complexities of being elementary and being middle, but we're a TK8. So I appreciate that patience with us. So yes, Liz, school day on 9/25 for middle school.
Awesome. Another pediatrician and mom says she recommends flu vaccines for everyone. And then we have another TK question. Any chance these children are able to get preference on AM classes because these children are still 4 or newly 5? They may still nap in the afternoons.
I think I'm going to join them with that nap. Yes. We're going to have to work it through with Michelle. So stay tuned. She's probably going to have a meeting or some type of information specifically for TK, as will our kindergarten families, and will 1, 2, and 3. So you'll be hearing from your LEDs.
Great. And then we're towards the end, but one more question about testing. Will PUSD test staff and LEDs?
I'm not getting a sense that that's happening yet. I heard there was talk around it. I'm not as knowledgeable about that answer, so to be determined.
Okay. Oh, will siblings in different grades be given the same session, AM or PM?
Yeah, that's kind of one of the design constraints, is to ensure that our families, when they pick AM or PM, if we do the lottery and one gets plopped into the PM, most likely the sibling will be in PM. Similar to when we do our draw for enrollment at Design 39, if your sibling gets pulled in, then then we pull in your younger or older. So yes, and I know I'm sorry, it's just, what I did not want to do is do it by alpha. I just feel sometimes the poor Z's and W's, oh, sorry, you're in the back half, so you go PM. I don't know, that just didn't feel right. So what's the next best thing is put the people in PM who want to be in PM, fill up all those seats, and then work through a lottery, and then we'll work from there.
Will there be breaks during the 2.5 hours at school? And how will they keep their distance during breaks?
Yeah, it's yes and yes, and we're still going to work through that. The piece that we are recommending with, especially with our youngest, is having mask breaks. I think adults need mask breaks as well. And how do we do that? That's safety. So recommending 6 feet apart for kids when they're without their mask. Eating is going to be grab and go, so that shouldn't be an issue. Recess, because of the time, we're really going to try to leverage some of those outdoor spaces. It's really advantageous for our B floor and C floor on the bottom. They both have exterior doors. We're still navigating through exterior learning spaces for our upper grade. That would be 4-5 and our 6-8. 6-8, we have a little bit of time to do that. 4-5, we're trying to figure that out as well. Breaks, so because of the tightness of the day, it'll be really short, any type of break, but it'll be more like mass breaks.
Would you
Like
be
being on a hot seat. It's a good thing. It's like the game of 20 questions, right?
well, I keep thinking this is going to be the last one, but
we're at 8:20, so yeah.
Would you be able to offer an either option for AM PM? This would help parents who could do either one in the lottery.
Oh, that's a good question. That's great. Good insight. So that there's a basically open, like I can do either. And so the flexibility. Okay, great. Connie's creating a form right now, Connie in the Welcome Center. So it has your current preference, teacher, LED, and then I'll ask her to add one more column, like either is fine. Cool. Thank you, guys. It's great. Whew. All right. I'm gonna give you guys a big hug. There we go. All right. Give your significant other a hug. I think you're safe to do so, I hope. There you go. I saw it right there. There's a good one. All right. And Bob, I don't know where she went. where's Marjan? I'm just saying. I saw a hug right there.
Next to me.
Oh, there's it. Let's see it. I'm going to put you on the speaker. Are you going to be speaker viewed, Bob? There it is. Let's see the hug. Family hug. All right. Oh, we haven't got, it's PG-13. Vanessa, let's see a hug. Vanessa, you got to talk though, so you can get on the main screen.
I have to talk.
Oh, there you go. Oh yeah, you got to get the hug in. Come on.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. It's family time. Vanessa, you're next. Vanessa Park, you got to talk so you can be on the main screen. All right, we see you there. All right, good hugs. All right, that's what it's about, right? We love you all. Super important. Take care of each other. Casey, thanks for doing a fabulous job as our collaborative president. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Yeah.
Yay.
Way to go, Casey.
Good job, Casey. With humility and love. It looks like Patrick De La Cruz is still on the call. So Patrick will hang back for about 5 minutes. So if anybody want to ask questions about Thrively, Patrick's going to stay back. We have Harmina there. She's going to fact check me, and then I'll get reprimanded if I wasn't accurate. So Harmina will be there as well. But most importantly, hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and end. Thank you for our YouTubers hanging in there. We're super excited about just this new beginning, right? All right, say bye to our YouTubers. All right, and the rest of you, we'll see you later. If you want to hang on the call.